I used to think Lucas was just stubborn to the bone. Getting him to bow his head was nothing but a way to humiliate him. But now, under the dim, intimate lights of the private room, everything suddenly spun. My hand trembled as I tried to lift it. The moment I moved, an alpha who had completely lost control pinned me down, dragging me into an even messier storm. And only then did I finally understand. As his so-called stepchild, it wasn't just his bones that were hard. His fierce, sharp scent crashed over me, overwhelming and aggressive. Holding back tears, I snapped at him with all the venom I could muster. Are you some kind of dog? Stop biting. I'm a beta. He froze. His cold, dark eyes locked on me. More precisely, on my lips that had just cursed at him. For a second, I thought my warning had gotten through. But then he tilted his head, revealing the curve of his ear beneath his black hair. His voice came out rough and low, every word deliberate. What did you say? I didn't hear you. 2. This was revenge. It had to be revenge. When I woke again, I was at home, in my bedroom, deep in the night. I moved stiffly, like my limbs didn't quite belong to me. While slapping bandages over my poor, battered glands, I gritted my teeth and fumed. Fine, sure, I was at fault. But still. Even if I drugged the drink, did I force him to swallow it? Even if I said he had to kneel and bow to me if he didn't drink, could I actually have made him do it? And even if he really did kneel, did he have to bite like that? And his technique was awful, too. Once I'd covered every visible mark, I finally let out a breath. Whatever resentment I had left fizzled out, crushed under a late and very inconvenient sense of guilt. Who gives their stepchild something like that anyway? And even ends up in bed with him? Thinking that, my legs nearly gave out as I pushed open the door of the room at the end of the hall. Begrudgingly swallowing the bitter consequences of my own stupidity. Never in my life did I imagine that the little tricks I used just to keep up the reputation of being the vicious one would backfire like this. And even worse. Lucas, that wolf of a boy, no one on earth can force him to do something he doesn't want to do. So why did he drink it? Why both glasses? Why not even give me a chance to take it back? Anger flared again. I pulled my phone out of my pocket with shaking hands and opened the contact labeled Oliver. My fingers flew over the screen. Where did you get that stuff? Do you know how badly you screwed me over? A faint voice came from inside the room. I quickly put my phone away, completely missing the messages Oliver sent a second later. What happened? Are you okay? I didn't dare get you the real thing last time. You weren't actually going to go that far, right? I figured you just needed it for show. So I swapped it for plain sugar packets. Smart of me, right? 3. I stepped inside, one slow step at a time. Like clocking in for work, I greeted the alpha lying in the bed. His eyes were half closed, his body connected to a web of medical devices. His features resembled Lucas's. Because he was my so-called husband. When I landed in this novel 3 years ago, he was already like this, kept alive by machines. Maybe he'd done too many terrible things when he was young, his friends and family were all gone, one way or another. In the end, the only people left who could inherit his massive fortune were me and Lucas. But per the Alliance's laws, a male alpha could only inherit at 21. Lucas had just turned 18. So even though he was legally an adult, everything, including Lucas, was under my control. Originally, the plot should have continued smoothly. Under my abuse, the protagonist Lucas would suppress everything, lose all will to live. Until he met his destined Omega. Then he'd get his life together, inherit the fortune on his 21st birthday. And as a final gesture, send me off to the afterlife. Only then could I finish my mission and return to the real world. But now, I pulled down my collar and stared at the marks scattered across my skin. Let out a long, defeated sigh. The plot had officially gone off the rails. People always say an alpha's purity is his best dowry. And now Lucas's innocence was gone. In a BL story, this alone would get the readers screaming in horror. Maybe I should run early. The whole storyline was already a complete mess. Might as well drink the soup while it's still hot. Lost in messy thoughts, I looked up again. And saw Miles, eyes wide, throat straining out a hoarse, furious sound. My heart shrank with guilt. Even though nothing actually happened between us. And we hadn't even had the chance to register our marriage. Watching that glaringly green hat drop onto his head while he couldn't do a thing would make anyone miserable. Let me explain. It's not what you think. Before I even finished, I caught Miles's expression shifting, lighting up. As if he'd seen a savior. Or someone who could take his place in punishing a faithless, rule-breaking beta like me. Sensing something was wrong, I stiffly turned around. And there he was. The man who had tossed me around in every possible way all afternoon. Standing right at the doorway. 4. His military academy combat uniform, still on him, hadn't even been taken off yet. In those eyes that were usually half-lidded and gloomy, something sharp and predatory flashed for just a moment. That tiny white hearing aid, stained earlier with a bit of wine and my spit, was now back on his ear. Sitting there quietly against his pale skin. The room was so silent you could hear a pin drop, and for some reason, I held my breath without thinking. He didn't spare his dying father a single glance. His eyes were fixed solely on me. That look, like a starving wolf that had finally spotted meat. His stare made my scalp prickle, and instinctively, I wanted to throw out the usual insults I used on him. But the dull ache at the back of my neck reminded me why I shouldn't. A strange, primal fear crept up from nowhere. The words caught in my throat and refused to come out. My toes curled against the floor inside my slippers. The atmosphere twisted into something darker, stranger. Miles, who was barely hanging on, looked like he was about to speak. But Lucas beat him to it, his voice calm and almost lazy. So, how did this happen? He rolled the words on his tongue and suddenly laughed. At that moment, Miles and I shared a rare moment of mutual horror as we watched Lucas walk closer and closer. Close enough that his military boot touched the tip of my house slipper. You going to complain to your husband now? Tell him how his son bullied you. 5. Miles died. Right after Lucas said that, his eyes flew open. And then he stopped breathing. Things had escalated into the kind of absurd drama people would rant about online. I pissed off my stepson so badly he and I accidentally killed my husband. My brain completely shut down. I just stood there, numb, watching the servants rush in to handle Miles's body. Their movements were crisp, efficient, almost like they had rehearsed this many times. Or prepared for it. Meanwhile, the two people closest to the deceased simply stood aside, watching the chaos like outsiders peering into a play. With the villainous persona I'd maintained all this time, the usual line would have been, "Look at you, you killed your own father." It would have crushed him with guilt. But for some reason, when I caught a glimpse of Lucas's quiet profile, I didn't want to say it. Forget it, going out of character is still better than being a jerk without reason. Even a fictional villain deserves some basic human rights. While I was spiraling into useless thoughts, a familiar scent drifted closer. The voice that had consumed all my senses earlier in the day sounded by my ear again. And instead of grief, it carried a mocking edge, and something simmering beneath. Are you mourning for him? In what capacity? A beta feeling sorry for another man? Or maybe the man who slept with his son? 6. Before he could drag me off toward whatever punishment he imagined for adulterers, I swung a fist straight at his face. I might be a beta, but a punch thrown with enough emotion still packs power. His lips split and swelled instantly, and whatever he was about to say got cut off. The servants froze, staring at us wide-eyed. It was the first time I had ever actually laid hands on him. The butler looked confused at first, until he noticed something, I didn't know what. He suddenly blanched, eyes darting between me and Lucas with growing panic. For a second, I thought he had figured everything out. But in the end, he lowered his gaze, said nothing, and simply ordered the servants to hurry up. When everyone finally left and the room grew quiet again, Lucas suddenly hissed. This was the same person who, as a teen, had been cornered in an alley and beaten without making a single sound. Now he cried out because of one punch from me. A tiny, shameful swell of pride bubbled up, and then guilt stomped it out. When I noticed him lifting his hand, my heart skipped, and I blurted. "Hurts, right? That's what you get for talking nonsense. I'm still your father's. Does it hurt?" He cut me off sharply. He didn't even look at me, as if the sight of me disgusted him. But his hand didn't hesitate as he grabbed my right hand. The knuckles were red from the force of my punch. My bravado instantly evaporated. My throat bobbed as I tried, unsuccessfully, to form words. By logic, he should have been the one hurting more. He noticed me pulling my hand back slightly and finally turned his head. Those eyes, usually dark and shadowed, now held a faint, almost teasing curve. "Seems like you're fine now." 3 years in this body, I'd played the villain role diligently. But I failed to notice one thing. The kid who once stood alone in the corner, isolated by everyone, had grown tall, handsome, and strong. Strong enough to pin me against a wall with no effort. The band-aid I'd slapped on him just hours ago peeled off and fell silently onto the soft carpet. His fingers brushed against my swollen gland. Looks like I bit harder. 7. This audio is originally produced by the YouTube channel, Omegaverse Tales Studio. Please credit when sharing. The air grew hot and charged. He was too close, close enough to stir memories I'd been trying to bury. At this rate, I'd never be able to keep up the villain persona. I took a deep breath and said, "Don't be like this. Yeah, I drugged you, that was my fault. But you're an alpha. If you lose control every time someone drugs you, how many Omegas would be in danger? And anyway, it's not like you paid the price. You weren't the one exhausted and sore afterward." Seeing his expression darken, I pressed on while I still had courage. "So be smart about it. Forget what happened today, and maybe I'll consider giving you a portion of Miles's inheritance. But if you keep clinging to this, don't blame me when I cut you off and throw you out. You won't get a single cent." Finishing my speech, I practically applauded myself in my head. Amazing, Lincoln. Threats, bribery, emotional manipulation. Peak villain behavior. Except Lucas didn't explode like I expected. His fists tightened. A flicker of humiliation flashed across his pale face. His already downturned eyes looked even more wounded. Like a wronged, innocent Omega being accused after losing something precious. Seeing that expression, my inconvenient conscience poked its head up again. Only a little, though. Survival comes first. I added casually, "Besides, have you forgotten how I treated you all these years?" 8. When I first ended up in this body, some so-called system gave me a mission, then immediately shut down forever. The mission: play the villainous beta who torments the male lead. But for someone like me, an overworked office drone who fantasized about quitting 100 times a day but still clocked in every morning, the most villainous thing I could think of was throwing a pile of money at Lucas every time someone showed interest in him, humiliating him and making him look like a tacky nouveau riche kid. Or, when the school bully tried to befriend him, I had bodyguards beat the bully up in the shadows. The humiliated bully then rallied his cronies and forbade anyone from talking to Lucas. Mission accomplished, complete social isolation. I even forced Lucas to wear a hearing aid, so he'd hear every whisper and insult behind his back, making him feel like an outsider everywhere he went. The whole routine made my conscience ache. But for some reason, watching his social circle shrink, and watching him stay within my line of sight every day, there was a twisted sense of satisfaction. And so, I targeted him relentlessly for 3 years. Until today, when things spiraled out of control. I accidentally took his virginity, then stomped on his pride with my words. Naturally, he hated me more than ever. And indeed, after that night, even though he didn't move out, he avoided me completely. Not even eye contact. At Miles's funeral, we stood on opposite sides, both expressionless. The butler looked like he wanted to say something, but sighed and held his tongue. Guests whispered about the strangeness between us. Lucas finally lifted his head, and with just one look, silenced them all. After the funeral, I went back to my room, scrolling through my phone. There'd been so many messages these days that I suddenly remembered. Oliver had replied to me the other day. I had only skimmed it before it got buried under others. He was abroad and hadn't attended the funeral. I opened the chat absent-mindedly, ready to vent. And then the words jumped out at me. Sweet dumpling. Lucas never took the drug. When I stood at Lucas's door with my phone in hand, I actually felt pretty calm. I didn't Google 100 ways to beat someone up. Nor did I check the odds of a beta taking down an alpha alone. I even managed to smile at the butler who happened to be up for a drink of water. And reminded him gently. Please double-check your ingredients. Don't mix up salt and sugar. The butler looked at me. Then glanced at Lucas's half-closed bedroom door. His expression complicated. Following his gaze, I suddenly realized I'd thrown on nothing but a thin shirt. So sheer it almost showed my skin. Well, simple is good. Less to take off if things get physical. At last, the silver-haired butler squeezed out a trembling reminder. Sir just left. You too, take it easy. Don't cause any accidents. I nodded politely and watched him leave. Accidents? Please. Me? I'm not that violent. Half dead is still technically alive. I don't know how long I waited before footsteps sounded behind the door. A second later, cold white light spilled from the room and lit up the hallway. And illuminated that handsome face I kind of wanted to punch again. He wasn't surprised to see me. Expression sour, eyes lowered, he muttered. What is it? I let out a short laugh. Nothing big. Nothing big at all. I've thought about it for days. I regret what happened, and I think we should revisit that night. Don't you agree? He understood instantly. His brows knotted, his face darkened. You dare bring that up, he began. But when he lifted his head and saw my expression, he froze, swallowing the rest of his words. The righteous indignation on his face slowly cracked under my half-smile. His gaze faltering. What's there to talk about? It was your fault. I laughed in disbelief, dropped my arm, and shoved him into the room, slamming the door behind us. Anger turned to force as I pushed him against the door. The warmth under my hands reminded me he'd just showered. Still shirtless. But somehow still remembered to put on his hearing aid. I didn't care anymore. Leaning in close to the ear with the device, my voice dropped darkly. How was that drink with the extra sugar? Next time, let me try it. If a drink can turn someone into a fearless beast, maybe I should let you enjoy that side of me too. 10. The room went dead silent after those words. So silent I could hear his breathing pick up. His heartbeat pounding under my palm. Lucas's face shifted from pale to flushed, turning a deeper red than the night all this started. Seeing him like that only thrilled the darker corner of my mind. I pinned one of his wrists, my other hand lightly at his neck as I whispered. You weren't drugged that night. So why did you react to me, a beta? And don't forget, I'm still technically your father's spouse. Lucas, how do you explain that? Is it an alpha's instinct? Or is it because you actually, 11. Turns out alphas really do inherit unfair natural advantages. Before I processed anything, the room flipped. And I was thrown onto his huge, minimalist bed. I bounced once, then crashed down again. His sudden retaliation blanked my brain. A heartbeat later, he rolled me over, taking the upper hand. When he gets angry enough, he goes icy calm. His left hand pressed against my chest. Not rough, but intense enough to make my breath catch. Heat seeped through my thin shirt. I forced out, trying to stay composed. What? Did I hit a nerve? You really won't admit you might actually. I didn't even know what I was babbling. Or what answer I expected. Some stupid part of me just wanted to win this round. You don't need to admit anything. I don't, A sudden jolt hit me, my body trembled violently. Lucas loomed above me, eyes lowered. A strange sensation spread like electricity through my whole body. I was about to snap at him. But then I saw his eyes turning red. To be fair, he's unfairly good-looking. A brooding wolf pup with soft, droopy, puppy-like eyes. And right now, with that calm expression and reddening rims. He looked heartbreakingly vulnerable. You did it on purpose, didn't you? He turned away and rubbed at his eyes hard with his free hand. Did what on purpose? I was stunned. You were nice to me on purpose. You flirted with me on purpose. You liked seeing me lose control. You refused to let me mark you on purpose. The handsome alpha glared at me. Eyes blazing, every word dripping hurt. For a split second, I wondered if I really was some heartless jerk who slept with him and ran. What? Hello? Is this the me from a parallel universe? Hold on. I'm a beta. How am I supposed to mark you? I was overwhelmed. His accusations hitting me one after another. And I couldn't even pry away his increasingly bold hands. When did I ever flirt with you? You're the one who drank that sugary drink, pinned me to the bed. And somehow that's my fault? And I was nice to you. You think that was me being nice? I laughed in disbelief. My entire villain act. And he thought it was affection? My acting skills felt personally insulted. 12. You still won't admit it. He looked even angrier now. So tense his chest muscles flexed. Which, okay, was very easy to grab. No. No, get those thoughts out. He kept going. You baited me. You pretended to help me when I was injured, putting medicine on me. I only did it to make you suffer more, I thought. You chased off those idiots bothering me. I didn't need your help. They couldn't beat me anyway. You could have said that earlier. You gave me a hearing aid. Isn't that because you wanted me to listen to you? Buddy, your interpretation skills are wild. Perfect for fanfiction forums. You gave me that drink because you wanted things to go further. Fine. I'll grant your wish. That drink had nothing in it. You slept with me and refused to take responsibility. You wanted me to forget it. Well, too bad. You reckless beta. I bit you so many times that night. And you still didn't smell like me at all. I finally get it. You just want to take that inheritance and run off with some pretty boy. Don't think I don't know. You like 8-pack wolf pups. That's enough. Enough. I grabbed his face in both hands, shaking him like I was trying to mix water and flour inside his skull. Lucas. What are you even trying to say? He suddenly went quiet. As if that whole meltdown had been an illusion. Then. He leaned down and kissed me. His voice came low between our lips, fierce yet wounded. As if he was baring his softest spot to me. I'm saying I like you. Is that what you wanted? 13. Wanted? I was more than satisfied. Overflowing. The butler, the one who never sleeps and roams the hallways at night, was taking a sip of water when I burst out of Lucas's room half-dressed. He choked so hard the water sprayed. After a long coughing fit, he muttered with trembling hands. Well, good. Better to keep blessings in the family. He took it well, I'll give him that. I just stared blankly. So that's what he meant about causing a life-threatening accident. Back in my room, holding my aching waist, I peeled off my soaked shirt. Soaked because Lucas cried on me. Anyone who didn't know better would think I was the one who got pinned down by him. I sighed. Great. Now the whole plot was a disaster. Lucas, the supposed leading alpha, had confessed he liked a villain. And that broken system I rely on? Still offline. Whoever bought their servers must have gone cheap. It was late. Outside, the branches intertwined in the wind. My thoughts drifted endlessly. Until my exhausted body finally warned me to stop. Right before I knocked out, I scrolled to a contact labeled Owen. Are you free? Let's meet tomorrow. The next morning, sunlight poured through the windows. After tidying myself up, I opened the door and nearly ran into a handsome face. Maybe from crying too hard last night, Lucas's eyes were red and swollen. His expression was still awkward. He raised a hand, as if about to knock, but paused when he saw me. You're heading out. I can walk you. Then he added quickly. Don't get the wrong idea. I'm not chasing you. I just happen to be going to the Alliance Academy today, and it's on the way. You're listening to Omegaverse Tales Studio, a YouTube channel dedicated to captivating short stories. Let's continue. Before I could even say where I was going, he called it on the way. And with the way our relationship is, chasing? Really? After last night, my feelings for him were tangled. A mess even I could get dizzy thinking about. Especially after his confession. I didn't even know how to face him. But I wasn't about to lose face. So, as usual, I jabbed him lightly. How many days have you skipped classes? The Alliance Academy hasn't kicked you out yet? Unexpectedly, his puppy eyes brightened for a moment. And he quickly looked away like he was trying to hide it. You remember my schedule that well, and you still say I. Forget it. You can't reason with someone in love mode. I waved him off, leaving a simple instruction. Don't follow me. Then I let the driver take me to the agreed spot. Inside a quiet, elegant cafe. I slid a card across the table to a clear-eyed Omega. I know you've been planning to study at the Independent Star. Consider this a little gift, please accept it. Owen sipped his coffee, then set the cup down slowly. His clear, serene eyes seemed to see right through everything. Lincoln, what's this? I cleared my throat. The whole 5 million offer to stay away from my son's scenario somehow perfectly matched the current moment. Oh, I get it. He snapped his fingers and leaned a little closer. You want me to stay away from Lucas? Wow, you're clever. Actually, before that pirated system completely crashed, it had revealed Lucas's destined Omega. Owen himself. Lucas's classmate at the Alliance Academy. Whether the story affected them or led to romance, I still didn't know. Before my relationship with Lucas soured, I was still the diligent villain, determined to be the obstacle in the hero's love story. I looked into Owen's background, noticing some subtle tensions with his family. And money is always the best way to influence someone. I knew that well. So, I bought Owen. Had him request a schedule change, keeping him away from Lucas. This way, what could have been a sweet, innocent college romance ended up delayed by the meddling of a malicious beta. Perfect villain script. But it all depended on me not wavering. Last night, lying in bed, I gave a fleeting, guilty thought to my nameless, certificate-less husband. Then remembered every detail with Lucas. His hurt expression, teary eyes, even that hearing aid that added a subtle flaw to his beauty. Ah, yes. I like 8-pack little wolf pups. And here he is, right in front of me. since the story's already collapsed this far, why not make it even messier? Of course, before I could get close to the little wolf pup, I had to neutralize this potential rival. So I arranged to meet Owen, taking the classic villain role of the meddling matchmaker. And it was thrilling. The Omega across from me chuckled, his teasing gaze hooked onto my neck, where a faint mark remained. Lincoln thinks I like Lucas. 15. I don't think so. But I didn't explain. He leisurely swiped through his phone, as if searching for something. Since Lincoln had investigated me, he already knew about my alpha stepbrother. I nodded. Alphas are interesting creatures, aren't they? A bit puzzled, yet I nodded anyway. He paused, then handed his phone to me. When I saw the picture, coffee nearly shot out of my mouth. You. Wow, going all out. His muscular alpha stepbrother, wearing a maid outfit, kneeling with his face to the camera. I didn't dare look further. He raised an eyebrow, withdrew the phone, and smirked mischievously. The high and mighty vibe completely gone, replaced by sly fox energy. Don't worry. I like this. I blinked, still stunned by the photo. Owen slid the card back, then, with a swift gesture, tapped precisely at the corner of my lips. By the time I reacted, his hand was already down. But his gaze flicked meaningfully behind me. I turned to look, nothing. What's wrong? Nothing. He shook his head, smiling. Lincoln seems fine with my personal life. I chuckled, privacy, respect, right? False. Inside, I was screaming and secretly impressed by this Omega. He was Omega among Omegas. And no, I wasn't talking about my dealings with an alpha. What do you mean? I meant, me getting involved with my stepbrother. 16. Oh, that's nothing. I mean, wait. I widened my eyes, suspicious. Seeing my silence, he smiled knowingly, as if he'd seen everything. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Everyone has secrets in this world, don't they? He finished his coffee, stood, and leaned over the table for a cheek-to-cheek gesture. To an outsider, it looked intimate. His clear, melodious voice whispered in my ear. Go home and check on Lucas, he has secrets, too. Then he left casually. I sat there, puzzled. Lucas has secrets? Does it matter? Who doesn't have secrets? I have mine. My biggest one. I don't belong here. I'm a soul from another world. Thinking of that, I remembered the first terrifying days I spent here. Strangers, an unfamiliar world, fearing I'd lose myself playing someone else's role. Forget who I was, forget how to return home. So I wrote everything down, my identity, my old world. In a diary, reading it every day. Until I could clearly separate the two worlds. Eventually, I destroyed the diary. Lucas was almost transparent to me. What secrets could he have? I was lost in my chaotic thoughts. Until a shadow fell over me. Lucas's icy voice sounded above me. Everyone's gone. Not chasing. Being grabbed by the nape and hauled into the car left me a little stunned. How did you know I was here? Aren't you supposed to be at school? He snorted coldly, voice laced with mockery. Of course you don't want me here. Getting in the way of your date with an Omega, huh? I thought you liked 8-pack little wolf pups, have your tastes changed? That scrawny alpha can satisfy you? Me? I play with alphas. Why would I even care about him? No, that's all wrong, all kinds of nonsense. Don't dodge the question, I warned. I'm asking how you knew I was here. Were you following me? His gaze flickered, and he muttered stubbornly. Following? I was just on the way. Forget it. I didn't care if he really followed me or just conveniently passed by. Still, I reminded him firmly. Don't go bothering him. An alpha should have alpha morals, got it? He went silent, and I took that as compliance. Meanwhile, I kept turning over in my mind how to get Lucas to spill his secrets. As I pondered, I yawned. Just before my eyelids could fully close, his voice floated through like a veil, barely audible. He's your destined partner? 18. I blinked awake, nodding automatically. Yes. 3 seconds later, I stiffly turned to his side profile. What did you just say? He smirked. My destined partner, that fated Omega. I'm going to fall in love with him at 21. I felt the world shatter, my head buzzing. The surroundings blurred, like a gauze dimming everything into shadows. You how? The car stopped smoothly. He got out, opened the door for me, and, as if nothing else existed, took my hand. Compared to his warmth, my hand felt like ice. Want to know? I nodded mechanically. Then he kissed me. I punched him. He hissed, clutching his side, puppy eyes drooping, mumbling as he walked. You're too fierce. I panicked, running in circles like an ant on a hot pan. He dragged me into his room. The air was stale, carrying the faint traces of last night's tension. I barely noticed, my eyes fixed on him as he opened the bottom drawer of his desk, pulling out a yellowed notebook. At that moment, everything made sense. That diary. Didn't I burn it? No. I replaced it before you burned it, he said softly. He flipped the cover to reveal my handwriting. Watching my reaction from the corner of his eye, he raised an eyebrow in triumph when he saw I wasn't angry. When Miles brought you back, he had killed my mom. I hated him, and I hated you too. Every day I watched you, thinking how to get rid of you. This story is exclusively produced by the YouTube channel, Omegaverse Tales Studio. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Then you came home, and Miles was too sick to move. I asked the doctors, he had at most 3 months left. I was so happy, I couldn't care about you. Until you got close and started, tempting me. He looked at my expression and corrected himself. Helping, targeting me, that's when I noticed you. I've never met anyone like you, so sharp with words, yet your actions contradict everything you say. Maybe your logic makes sense to you, but to me, you're strange. So I went to your room. My sense of morality is low, I didn't think it was wrong. Under your pillow, I found this diary. Then I finally understood, you're from another world. All of this, everything here, is just a novel to you. You've been observing us like a third person, always ready to step away. He closed the diary, took a few steps, and pinned me against the wall. His fingers dug into my waist like they could snap it. Why? How can you stay so calm? I had to provoke you. I had to be involved. You want to leave, go to a place I can never reach, I won't allow it. I won't agree. Through his wild, determined alpha gaze, I saw it, his deep, hidden fear. He was afraid. Afraid of losing me. I smiled, pressing his head down. Idiot. It hurts. Let go. And who said I'm leaving? I even spent everything to block my rival. Do I look like someone who makes bad deals? 19. This time, he froze. You. I raised an eyebrow, tracing the small alpha gland at the back of his neck. You don't really think I don't know what being malicious means, do you? Everything I did, it was on purpose. When he got cornered by the school bullies in the alley, I could have appeared immediately and spared him some pain. But I waited until after he got hurt before sending the bodyguard. If I didn't want him to know it was me helping. How else could he have seen the deliberately left earpiece with my name engraved? The bridge effect, who was the bridge? Yes. Beneath that veneer of innocence. I'm even more obsessive and ruthless than Lucas. A world alone is boring. Countless times I sat in the garden. The prying eyes on me made my nerves tingle. So be it. Observe me, spy on me. Little wolf pup. Curiosity is the start of obsession. But none of this would I admit to him. I continued playing the innocent beta, showing affection to my alpha. What are you worried about? Afraid your charm isn't enough to keep me? I scratched his chin like teasing a pet. He frowned slightly but stayed obedient. I'm not afraid. I'm no fool. Your reactions in bed don't look like you don't feel anything for me. Oh? Getting smart, huh? I leaned closer. Then keep trying. Keep trying until my eyes see only you.